This episode should serve to remind us all that NFL players make wonderful players, but they don't necessarily make the best football analysts. Hi, I'm Nick. This is 10 Minutes with Nick. Dealing with some tech issues here. Thank you very much. And yesterday, Cam Jordan got on First Take ESPN and said some things that were perhaps a bit silly. Now, first things first, before I lay into Cam Jordan here a little bit, Cam Jordan is capable of doing things on a football field that I myself could never do, right? I am aware of that 100%. If you come at me and you say, hey, you aren't an NFL player, what do you know? That's 100%. You want to level that criticism on me? That's fair. Cam Jordan is a stalwart player for the New Orleans Saints. He has been for a long time. He's a smaller defensive end who has made it work in his career and has had an incredibly successful career because of it. I think he's second in all-time active sacks behind only Von Miller and is 17th all-time for total sacks, which is wildly impressive for him. And he's excellent as a player. But that does not mean he's a good analyst. Now, he got on First Take yesterday and was talking about quarterbacks. And a defensive end talking about quarterbacks is always interesting. But what he said essentially was that of the big four, Mahomes, Allen, Lamar, and Burrow, obviously Mahomes has won the big game, so he's out. But of the other three, he has the most hope that Lamar is going to get to the Super Bowl first. He doesn't think Josh can win the big game. The quote he said was that Josh proved he was who I thought he was. And Burrow, he's got to prove he can stay healthy. I actually wasn't angry about the quote. People have opinions. And it's not incorrect to say that Lamar is going to get to a Super Bowl. I 100% agree with it. I think it's incorrect to say that Josh can't win the big game when the numbers don't back that up at all. And this is really my point today about how when we talk about football analysis, we want to talk to the football players, right? We want to say to ourselves, these guys are the experts. They play the game. They must know the game. We got to get their opinion on this stuff. Actually, no. No, not really. When you look at a football player, they're an expert at playing football. And more importantly, they're an expert at playing football at their position, particularly really good players, right? Particularly really good players. This is something I've thought for a long time. Let's take Marshawn Lynch. He was a dynamic running back when he was playing. He was beast mode. He had the beast quake. He was all sorts of things on the field. He had great vision. He had great balance. He had great power. But all those things were very natural to him. The same thing I would say with like Josh or Lamar at quarterback. They know how to play the game and play their position. They know how to prep for that position, and they certainly know how to execute at a high level. But if they analyze the game, that skill at playing the position colors their perspective heavily. So let's take Cam Jordan. Cam Jordan, defensive end. His job is hunting down the quarterback. His job is disrupting runs. His job is engaging with the offensive line, occasionally dropping back into coverage, although God, I hope not. So if I were to ask him, hey, I'm looking specifically at this defensive end, how is he using his leverage here to get around the outside and beat the left tackle? Cam Jordan would have something very valuable to add to that conversation. But I don't think he necessarily has something valuable to add to the conversation of the skill of a quarterback necessarily. He has something to add to, hey, this quarterback holds the ball way too long. He has something to add to, hey, this quarterback is very easy to get to have, jumpy feet in the pocket. But as to the overall skill of a quarterback, he doesn't necessarily have a lot to add. And as a player, you naturally just come to the, hey, this is how I would do it. And the this is how I would do it mentality colors your perspective. And when you have that mentality of this is how I would do it, then you're not analyzing the game in front of you. You're analyzing the game that's going on in your head where you're trying to put yourself into the game. And that's not good analysis. That's just, that's just you spouting off nonsense. Now, don't get me wrong. I want Cam Jordan's opinion on a lot of things. I want his opinion on, like, hey, how do players prep when you're walking into an opposing stadium? How do you keep your focus so that you can get ready for the game? What's it like for you? What's the locker room like? On a team that is not doing well, like his Saints this year, on a team that's not doing well, how do you stay focused through an 18-week, 17-game season? What is that like to make sure that you don't just slip up? But I don't necessarily want his opinion on, like, schematically, what's the best way for an offense to attack a 4-3. He knows the best way to disrupt different offensive formations, but he doesn't know what the best way to overcome his defense is. That's not his job. And he shouldn't necessarily know that. He doesn't need to focus on that. He's an active player in the NFL. So I don't weight his opinion all that strongly on how or which QB is going to make it to the Super Bowl first who's not named Patrick Mahomes. Oh my God, excuse me. That said, he said it, and so rightfully, we can all critique it. Look, Cam Jordan seems like a very affable guy. He seems like a very friendly guy. He doesn't seem like he means anything mean-spirited. But it was a shot that he took at Josh. It was an uncalled for personal shot he took at Josh. And I would argue he maybe even took it accidentally, right? He said things that had been talked about before by other analysts. So he sort of co-opted other opinions and then spoke them. Cam Jordan's not stupid. He's just not an analyst. So he co-opted other opinions and just regurgitated them. Oh, well, Josh lost, therefore he can't win the big game. He's a year removed from being the most overrated player in the league. He's the most overrated player in the league until he won the MVP. And, he's a turnover machine. If you watched only the Broncos game, and the only real coverage you got of Josh Allen was listening to the occasional viral clip that came through, those might be the enduring opinions of Josh you have. And if you only watched, the playoffs for Lamar, and you only heard the stories that come out of Baltimore, like the recent ones that somebody brought up today on Twitter, where, he was falling asleep in meetings, those are probably nonsense stories. But, if those are the only things you hear about Lamar, then yeah, you're going to have a very low opinion of Lamar Jackson too. Players don't automatically make good analysts. And I think we need to stop affording them the status of expert analysts. They're expert players. They are expert players of the game. And I don't think former players necessarily make great coaches either, once again, because of that whole coloring their mentality through this is how I would do it. No. Good coaches and good analysts look at what's in front of them and break down and analyze what's in front of them to make the best, in the case of a coach, to make the best player possible. In the case of an analyst, to give the best opinion possible. And when it comes down to it, all football analysis is just opinions anyway. So everybody's allowed to have an opinion. Everybody's got one anyway, so you may as well just listen to it. If you got bent out of shape because Cam Jordan went off about Josh, I get it. But, he also then doubled down and said that Super Bowl wins are a QB stat. And anybody who thinks in the year of our Lord 2026 that wins are a QB stat clearly hasn't watched this last playoff where Drake May has played like hot doo-doo. He's not hot doo-doo. He's played like hot doo-doo. And yet he's on his way to the Super Bowl, right? It's okay that Drake May has played like hot doo-doo. We can admit that. He may play better in the Super Bowl. We'll see. But my advice to ESPN is maybe to stop just grabbing up all of the players that they can find to try and come up with these viral clips. Like, going for these viral clips is just dumb. It's just not good analysis. It's not good product. And now that you own NFL Network, you own another source of football analysis, maybe try to up the product. If you're going to have a monopoly, maybe at least like try to have a good product. I don't know. Anyways, that's Thursday. We're not doing solo podcast tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll have First Thoughts Friday with Lauren, and I hope you enjoy it. It's going to be a good one. And yeah, if you notice, I haven't talked about the Super Bowl at all because, quite honestly, it's a game of gross versus why would I care? Somebody will win. They'll be crowned. We'll spend the offseason talking about can they repeat. And yeah, next week we'll get into the new Bills coaches. Jim Leonard had some fun stuff to say. So did Pete Carmichael. And otherwise, we'll enjoy ourselves. Next week starts our off-season coverage. Thank you for watching. I'm Nick. This is 10 Minutes with Nick. Have a great day.